is one of them, I guess. Another is international travel restrictions. We're trying to work out when we get an update from your administration. When is that going to happen?
So, unfortunately, it can't be based on an arbitrary date. It has to be based on conditions. But I can tell you, as the Transportation Secretary, of course, I am as impatient as anybody to see us move as quickly as we responsibly can toward more forms of reopening. Right now, what's going on is a set of working group processes. So we've convened working groups with our international partners.
Yep.
There's one for the UK, one for the EU, one for Canada, one for Mexico, to determine the right pathway forward. A lot of this is based on what's going on with progress on the vaccines. Obviously, we see good news and bad news out there in terms of the variants. One moment, you're reading about a variant happening across the world. The next, it's becoming the dominant strain here in the U.S.
And it is, sir. And if you allow me to jump in, because we're pushed for time, the Delta variant has become the dominant strain here in the United States of America, according to the CDC, and very quickly so, too. From my position personally, forgive me for saying this, but you didn't have to watch your father's funeral down the screen of an iPhone on Tuesday. I did, because of your policies. Now, I expected you to bring up the science, and I expected the quote that came from you to be used because you used it a month ago, 2 months ago. Here are the policies for our audience so they understand them. Currently, if you're a citizen of the United States of America, or if you have a green card, you can travel to the UK and you can fly directly back. If you have an H-1B visa or an L-1, you can fly to the UK, but to come back to America, you need to go to Mexico City and spend 2 weeks there in a third country to get back to New York. Sir, forgive me, but I've spoken to scientists about this, and there is no scientific rationale for that policy. So for me and thousands of others who haven't got to be with their loved ones through a critical time because of your policies, sir, there will be thousands more if you carry on repeating the same line and don't just look at this and change it. Why are you not changing the policy when we have scientists day after day say there's no scientific rationale for maintaining it?
Well, first of all, let me say I'm sorry to hear about your father. And let me also say that I am among those who are impatient to see loved ones who live across the Atlantic. Let me also say that the U.S. is going to be conservative in dealing with a phenomenon that has led to the deaths of 600,000
You keep going back to this, sir.
And so
there is no scientific rationale to draw a distinction between someone who has a green card, an H-1B visa, or an L-1. You know that. I know that. Regardless of anything you say for the next couple of minutes, it's not going to justify it. What I need to understand from you as a policymaker is why thousands of people who live in this country legally and pay taxes cannot go home to see loved ones and return directly, and why you still repeat the same line again and again and again. It doesn't make it true. You do not have a scientific rationale for this. You cannot back it up with science, sir. Why are you not going away with policymakers and doing something?
So our tools are imperfect, right? We are dealing with a country-based framework for assessing risk, when in a perfect world, we would know all the information we needed to have for a traveler-based framework. We can move in that direction somewhat. That's more refined and ultimately more accurate from a risk assessment perspective. But we don't have the toolkit to do that in a way that would be as smooth as we would want. So we're going to continue to have a strategy led by public health authorities, guided by Homeland Security, CDC, my department at the table, to reopen travel as quickly as we responsibly can.
But when dealing with a phenomenon, I'm not talking about a broad-based reopening, though. Forgive me for jumping in. No, just allow me to get this thought in, because it's important to what you're about to say. I need you to understand that I'm talking about working people in this country who are working here legally. With the stroke of a pen, you could enable thousands of people in this country who work illegally and pay taxes to return home to loved ones. And you can do that by making an equal treatment for people with an H-1B, an L-1, a green card, and a resident of this country. You know that's not difficult. That's not a large change. That's allowing people who work in this country to get back and see loved ones like they want to. And, sir, I'm not going to lay on this on any thicker than I already have. You didn't have to watch your mum stand by your father's casket in a funeral 2 days ago because you won't do what I'm describing. It's easy. And us together in this conversation, I hope you go away and make the changes so that thousands of other people don't have to go through what I've gone through in the last month. Can we make that happen, sir?
So these are exactly the kinds of things that we're reviewing on a daily basis. I'm the transportation secretary. My entire job is to do everything I can to safely get people to where they need to be and where they want to be, whether it's to be with loved ones, whether it's to do business. It's literally what I'm here in Washington to do. Nothing about this, respectfully, nothing about this is easy. We're dealing with a phenomenon that has led to the deaths of 600,000 Americans. We're dealing with imperfect information, complex policies, legacy policies. Nothing about this is easy. But what I will tell you is we are doing everything we can as quickly as we responsibly can to get back up and running.
Mr. Secretary, would you support a passport equivalent? I have a passport. I happened to study microbiology a few years ago. Why can't I get a passport, a federal passport, that says I've been vaccinated?
Well, there are a lot of privacy and technology issues, but I do think it's worth noting, you may have had this experience too. I had it when I was younger, traveling internationally, of carrying a yellow CDC passport that reflected the vaccinations that I needed to demonstrate that I had to travel to parts of Southeast Asia and Africa. We have forms of this that are frankly very low tech and out of date. How to balance that with the privacy issues is a challenge, and we've decided that it's not the federal government's job to establish these kinds of requirements, but it is important to make sure that there are ways for people who want to demonstrate that they are vaccinated to prove it. And we've seen a lot of third-party and private sector ways to do this, and I think that's going to continue to develop and needs to have continued support at the